Party time is over for us as we return from spring break. This is the Colorado Prep Show presented by UPSWING. I'm the editor-in-chief of Colorado Prep's Dan Mohrmann, the editor-in-chief of Mile High Sports Magazine, Doug Ottewill, with me as always. Dougie, I know you took some vacay time, some time to get away after we got through the gauntlet of Winter State Championships and getting the new issue of Mile High Sports Magazine out. We'll talk about that in a second, but are you refreshed and ready for the 8-week push that is left for us on the sports calendar for high school kids?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's 8 weeks. Then it's summer. This is go time.
And we're to the point, and it's a perfect analogy because it is very much a sprint, not a marathon. Ties very well into what our main topic is going to be today. But as we begin each and every show, we always talk about what's on our upswing. And Doug, my upswing is just that: 8 weeks of fun. It's that post spring break period. We're a little refreshed, and the competition dials up a little bit at this point. We saw that over the weekend at the Niwot Track and Field Invite. We're going to go heavy into that. The Cheyenne Mountain Girls Golf Invite is today. The second that the show is over, I'm running down to the Country Club of Colorado to watch some of those girls compete and take on just a classic Pete Dye course as they prepare for the push to state. And we're getting into league play for soccer teams, lacrosse teams, baseball teams. So everything's going to count that much more for spring sports, man. This is the time where it's always just a dead sprint to the end. And as much as you will probably hear and see me complain through phone calls and text messages over the next 8 weeks, the reality is I love it. But what's on your upswing?
I'm going to go a little more specific and talk up Arvada West baseball. They just got back from a road trip. They took their lumps a little bit, seeing some really good out-of-state competition. But I think this is a program on the rise. I mean, they 10-run Cherry Creek. And I know that's something you and I talked about, but I think that's a team that could, just like in football and basketball, represent Jeffco really well. And it's early in the season still, but the weather should play out for schedules, and I think the Wildcats are on the rise.
And we'll have a lot of Arvada West Wildcat coverage with courtesy of Dennis Ployce. He's always on top of things when it comes to Jeffco everything for us. So that's going to be a lot of fun as these kids get into this post-spring break push. You know what they need more than anything else, Doug? It's what every athlete needs. They need recovery. And if you're a young athlete and you're looking for recovery, there's no better facility for you than Upswing at 7460 South University Boulevard in Centennial. Recovery at Upswing helps young athletes prevent injuries, bounce back faster, and keep progressing towards their dreams. For the next 8 weeks, those dreams will include a Winter State Championship. You don't just need recovery. You've got to be at the top of your game. And if we're talking about, we're going to be talking a lot of track today. So if we're talking about state track, every lane of Upswing's indoor track is built for young athletes to push their limits and chase their goals. We've seen it. It's a dead straightaway. Our guy, Jermaine Stafford, we'll bring him in here in just a second. The head track coach at Lutheran. I know that he is giddy every time he walks in and he sees kids working on the indoor track at that facility to get better and get themselves in a position to be at Jeffco Stadium in mid-May. It all sounds expensive. I say that every week, but Upswing removes cost barriers so young athletes can access world-class training and recovery. And with that, we will bring in our guy, the head track and field coach at Lutheran High School, Jermaine Stafford. Jermaine, we missed you last week, and it's good to see you back in the digital flesh, my friend. Oh, we can't hear you.
You look a little tan there, Doug.
I appreciate that. I'm normally never something ever said about me. So the change is nice.
Jermaine, how did spring break treat you, and what are you excited about here in the weeks moving forward?
Well, spring break for guys like myself, coaches, and here at Upswing, it is not a break. It is Spring Fest, right? It is fast. It's fest. And we're pivoting. We are servicing, many kids, many different sports for, many different ages. So we're happy. I mean, here at Upswing, we had multiple daytime, sessions available. We did a half of Jeffco Douglas of Cherry Creek spring break. We had to put it all together. So yeah, we're excited to get back to routine. As you understand, athletes are creatures of habit. So we're ready to get these creatures back walking in the way they used to walking.
Well, speaking of creatures of habit, we're diving in at the top of the show with Coronado's Oliver Horton. He was a guy that we talked about a lot last year for cross country, and
Or that watch.
that watch. He doesn't need it in track. Doesn't need it in track. You're on the lane and you're staring at a clock. But here's the thing, guys. I mean, to be honest with you, I was going through everything yesterday, and I'm trying to figure out what are we going to talk about today because we don't have as many sports going on with spring break and all that. And then our guy Bobby Reyes had a great roundup of the NIWAD invite over the weekend and just plops this one right in our lap. Oliver established himself as one of the top runners in the state in cross country, and he only reinforced that this weekend. He ran an 8:56.1 3,200 meter run, and that's against the best runners that the state has to offer. We're talking about kids from Mountain Vista, from Niwot. You've got this little 4A runner from Colorado Springs who is just continuing to dust them all. But here, and here's the catch. Going into this race, in Colorado history, only 2 runners had ever broken 9 miles in the 2-mile run. Cole Sprout from Valor Christian, Parker Wolf from Cherry Creek. In this run alone, guys, 4 runners cracked that 9-minute mark. So as I started thinking about, one, the significance of Oliver winning with that time and nearly set the state record. He's off of Parker Wolf's record, I think, by about a second. So he nearly had the state record, but to see 4 guys crack that mark when only 2 had done it beforehand, I mean, Jermaine, this is going to be where you thrive, man. What is it that we're seeing about track specifically? I think it's happening in all sports, but track specifically, kids are getting faster, stronger, and we're seeing results that are getting up there to tops in the nation. We'll talk about that, but why are we seeing this trend with high school track athletes in Colorado right now?
It's the sun here in Colorado. I mean, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be straightforward with you. As a track coach, it is the sun. This is our boost. When we can compete at weather that you've seen over the last 3 weeks, as much as people may be complaining about it, they need moisture. There's no snow. It's it's too hot. It's too warm. For track and field in Colorado, it's beautiful, right? It allows these athletes the opportunity to perform at the highest level in the best conditions. And at some of these other states, talk about California, Florida, Texas, those states that have typically those big numbers, you'll see that now here in Colorado, we have great weather. As a track coach, I can tell you, I've been to probably 6 track meets already, and I'm layering off, right? I'm taking the jacket off because of the weather, which is great. So, and just in general, I could tell you, the young man that you see running here, I mean, Horton, that is amazing what he is accomplishing and able to put down. Colorado has always been known, obviously, speaking of NIWAT and that invitational, we've been known for distance running in this state, but we also have some great opportunity to run in altitude. I mean, we are at 5280. I mean, we're up here, we're running here, and we train in this weather. And when you have the combination of the heat along with being in altitude, we're going to have great performances like this. I can tell you, seeing this time it takes me back. I mean, I coached Cole Sprout. I was blessed to be at Valor at that time, and I remember Cole breaking some of those records. And I remember we were at Oregon Relays, and he's running at Oregon Relays, and he's running that record, and he finished, and he thought his shadow was actually chasing him. Right, that's what made him run faster. I mean, he was by himself. Like this young man, he wasn't by himself. He had a push. Unlike the shadow, he had a push for some other, competitors in that race. We'll see that throughout the year with the weather staying the same. And, coaches are dialing up the right competition. Unlike in a lot of sports where teams dodge each other because of classifications, Class A up to 6A in different sports. In track and field, when you go to a track and field meet, you will have everything from 1 all the way up to 5. Right? You will have those competitors. And when a gun goes off, it doesn't say, hey, the 1A guy, you get to go first. The 5A guy, wait to 2 steps and go. It's not that in track and field. For years, being a Lutheran, I've been there going on my 12th season now. We started at 2A. I used to be down there at Lyman, the good old-fashioned Lyman Invitational. I remember being at a 2A meet we primarily compete only at 5A track meets. But if you go to any track meet, you will find different small schools there as well. I was blown away this weekend over at the Chaparral Invitational when you had some small schools. A 2A young lady was running, 57 seconds in the 400, just unheard of, right? So the track and field world and the stage allows, the athletes just to compete and not to be put in a vacuum of I'm class 1A, 3 or 4A. So the competition comes together, and then that's why you see these great performances.
Well, I would say, Jermaine, and by no means would I discount anything you just said as far as weather and altitude and competition, all these things, but I don't think guys like yourself are getting enough credit. And I say that because when we started Mile High Sports, it was 23 years ago almost, there was nothing like Upswing. I don't want to say nothing, but very few and far between. I think maybe 2 or 3 years in, there was a company you probably remember named Velocity. And Velocity had a similar kind of concept where they had a track space, had weights. I think Lauren Landau was behind that originally. But, there's more and more of those kind of things. And I think as the state gets better, as kids get better at what they do, those kids grow up and they come back and become coaches. And I think you're starting to see some phenomenal track athletes from say 10, 20, 30 years ago come back, show what they know. And then you have these great facilities like Upswing where kids can go and just craft their skills and get better and be better and learn from the best and do it, 365 days a year. I mean, the weather and the altitude are great, but there's also some days where, we were in there taking pictures of football players, and there's kids in there well ahead of track season perfecting what they do on the track. So I think all those things are true, but I would say that there has been, and along with the population comes a lot of these kind of opportunities, but you just take Upswing in and of itself, things like that, opportunities like that. And there are a few others and a few other coaches around the state and things like that where, these kids just have a chance to be good and be taught by the best at the best facilities. So I don't think it's any shock that records are being broken or you're having multiple kids kind of get in those like elite time slots. I think it has a lot to do with coaching and facilities.
And when go ahead, Jermaine.
Yeah, I was just gonna say thank you. It sounds better coming from someone else, right? Than blow them on, than blow them on the horn. Obviously, yes, coaching and facilities and opportunities in clubs and different clinics given. Yes, there is a high level of education going on in the state of Colorado. We have some brilliant coaches all the way, up north where you have, Coach Maurice over at Niwot and what we've had at different high schools, Coach Copeland down there at Chaparral, all the way across. The Fort Collins coach, that coach is brilliant in what he does there, So, yeah, there's some great coaches. Individuals are coming back and understand. We're going to get in a little bit about Fort Collins and, I'm going to draw that line of what you're talking about with coaching and how it's a huge impact when these individuals come back, right? I mean, one of my biggest goals in this offseason is bringing back, Lutheran alumni to be a part of our coaching staff, right? Because that is huge when you can have someone to come back when at such a young age, but still educated and can feel the pulse of where she needs to be on a Saturday. So yeah, it is. Colorado's at a high level when it comes to coaching. I see it across the board. Every team, you go to a track meet and you see just massive amount of adults. It makes me smile inside because, that's our mission here at Upswing, right? We connect people, connecting people and putting great adults around young people. You see a massive amount of coaches at track meets, right? It's not like one coach with 20 kids walking behind them. You see 5 to 7 coaches per team at these track meets. And, sometimes they're sending their teams to 2 different track meets. I have 100 athletes and we all can't go to one track meet where you only have 3 entries per event. So I may have to send some to different venues. So the coaches have to split and go. So it takes a team approach and a very valued presence from the coaches.
Well, and the one thing that I wanted to stress after what Doug was saying is it's not specialized to one area either. And Jermaine, you mentioned, Colorado right now has a great reputation for distance runners, right? And we can see that even in the girls' side of the 3,200. I was looking on Max Preps before the show. 17 of the top 20 girls in the nation who've run the 3,200. 17 of those 20 top times are from Colorado, right? So the reputation of distance running is certainly there. But if you dig a little deeper, Eagle Crest Cameron Bell, a guy that we know well because we took pictures of him at your facility. I think he's leading the state with a 24-foot, 3.5-inch long jump. And right now that's number 7 in the country. The Fort Collins 4x100 relay team sits at number 7 in the country, right? So you've got sprinters, you've got jumpers. You're kind of covering the board here with what kids from Colorado are able to do. So here's my my other question for you guys is, way too often, I don't think, and I think I've asked this on the show before, when we see great performances, it's really hard to appreciate the greatness that you see in the moment that you're seeing it, because you're either comparing it to other historical times, you're comparing it to, to athletes around the country. But are we really living in this time that we're going to look back in 10 years and with a lot of sports, but for this discussion, specifically track and field, and say, man, what a group of kids that we had in 2025, 2026, 2027.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to. I mean, that's what history is created, right? It's like you live in the present, but you have to be in the future to actually accept history, if that makes sense, right? And understanding, the things that we've had here in track and field over the years. You look at some of the great track and field athletes that we've seen on the professional level over the last 2 years. When you see Anna Hall doing what she's done across the board, right? For years, you see Anna Hall and you watched her run here in Colorado. You've seen her run, jump, throw. She was doing all these events, and like, what's it gonna, come to be one day? Well, come to be a world champion, hopefully Olympic champion coming. And understanding, like, you didn't appreciate it as much as now you think back to that team. And on that one team, there were, multiple Division I athletes, right? There were multiple Olympians, right? Sadie McFadden, she's actually a bobsled Olympian this year. She was on that team. She was a long jumper in Wyoming, right? But she actually was a sprinter on that Valor team. She was in the bobsledding here in the Winter Olympics last year. You don't realize that. You can't realize it until the actual present comes, right? And you're seeing that now with the athletes we have. Think about what you just stated, Doug. 17, right, of the top 3,200, performances.
17 of the top 20.
Right. So you talk about state championship, top 18 make it, right?
Yeah.
The top 18 make it in the state to the state championship. Now, I'm sure all those young ladies aren't all the same classification, but I'm sure there is heavy somewhere in one of the two classifications. So you think about that, how hard it is to get into that 3,200. I mean, this year, you see that when you had at that 9-wide invitational, you had 4 young men below 11 seconds. Yeah, if we were in Texas, people be giggling about that, because they go 4 guys below 10 seconds there. But here in Colorado, to be this early in the year, we having hit April 1 and having 4 young men below 11 seconds it's powerful.
And that was going to be my next point, is they're not even in peak performance time yet.
No. If you're coaching, especially a lot of track and field athletes. I don't coach distance. I obviously being a head coach, I see it all. I'll be able to touch and understand and hear the feedback from every coach. I understand what I want to see from our team. But one thing, regardless of what event they are, we are in that cycle where this is a volume cycle. No one's working at truly speed work as of right now. I don't want to give up my tips to any coach to come out and beat us. But if you're sitting and you have 5 weeks to go, you're on that teetering to that speed work. You're not quite there yet. So, yeah, they're only going to get faster, and the competition is only get better because it's get that time of the year where that top 18 list gets tighter and tighter. So coaches start to strategize, like, how can I get the best out of my athlete? Some of my 300 hurdlers, they were running the 400 and 4x4 this past weekend, not the 300 hurdles. Right? I want to get you strong enough so come May, you're strong and you're fast. So how you create, that periodization for your track team is very important. Everyone goes out to a track meet and they want to see a PR every week, right? Well, imagine if you're PR every week, you can't do it 9 weeks in a row, right? You just can't do it 9 weeks in a row. So you want to hit it where you can make sure that your athlete is hitting that top at the perfect timing. And it's a tough situation. And Doug alluded to it the best. That's why facilities and trainers are great when they can understand periodization and how to taper off. The years of having that opportunity to work, with Lauren Landau and understand like the combine, and you're getting ready for the combine. You bring these young men in January, they're getting ready to try to run their fast 40 come, come February and March time in combine. When do you taper them off, right? So it's not the same thing with track coaches. Like, you have to understand you can't run every week. I mean, you can't run every race. My top sprinter this weekend, he was in 100 meters. Right. And everybody's like, wow, Carlos Solo's running 100 today. Yeah, he's running 100 today for speed work. And he went out there and he upset everyone in the 100 and he won the 100 and ran 10:91 in the 100. He's a 400 meter guy. Right. So to pop in there to get that speed work, and not only speed work, as a coach, I'm looking to get him some competition early that it doesn't have to take his body away. Right. It's almost like running in water. I want to get him where his body's not gonna get hurt, but I can put him where he's gonna be competitive in a race that he's not confident, but he understands this is not his race, right? He is a featherweight fighting a heavyweight, boxing match. So he understands how he has to perform. So yeah, it's interesting to see. Great facilities do it. Recovery is vital. Places like, UPSWING does it. I mean, you have some other places. I know schools are doing it great as well with cold plunges and compression boots. It's important to make sure these kids can get through this next 5 weeks. And think about it. It's 5 more weeks to state. Sounds like it's a long time, but for a coach, it's very short.
Well, think about all the stuff you just said. And, going back to your original question, Dan, in 10 years, are we going to be looking back at this class of kids and thinking, man, this was an amazing class? In some ways, yes, but I would bet that in 10 years, we're going to be sitting here and you said, the top 4 runners cracked 9 minutes. Well, I think, it's going to be everybody doing that. That's just going to be the progression of the sport. I mean, you think back to Jermaine, like Yolanda Johnson, one of the best hurdlers that's ever come through the state. But my guess is that when she was in high school in the 80s, a majority of the programs, they had a coach that was a PE teacher, and he figured out which kid was the fastest and put them in the right race and hoped that they were athletic enough to win. But you look at Yolanda, and she was a member of that Flyers club, and Tony Wells was an expert coach, and those kids really outperformed everybody. Yolanda was an exceptional talent, but it took what, 25 years for her own daughter to break her own record in Dior Hall. So, I think that a little bit of it is you look at the eras that we've been through. And like I said, I'm guessing when I was in high school, whoever was the track coach just kind of took an inventory of who he had and what he had and put them in the right slots and called it good. Now, I think every coach, not every coach certainly, but there's a lot more coaches doing what you're talking about, Jermaine, really fine-tuning what an athlete's skill set is and figuring out when they're going to peak and how to get them to that peak. And I think a lot of that comes back to what I was saying earlier. There's more talent. There's guys like yourself that were elite runners that learned at, great universities like Michigan State, coming here because it's a great place to coach and live and all that. And then you have other athletes that were great track runners from here, go on, learn from programs in the SEC and ACC and Big 12, and then they come back and they're coaches. So I think that it keeps funneling. So yeah, Dan, in 10 years, I don't think that we'll think Oliver Horton, was an average Joe, but I'll bet you there's kids that beat what Oliver Horton does in 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the case, right? Because you had Cole Sprout, you had Parker Wolf, and those are two kids that, Jermaine, you said you coached one of them. I watched both of those guys compete, and at the time, you're just floored at the capability that those guys have to do what they did. And to see this, to see this junior, and remember, Oliver's only a junior. He's got another year of high school left, and if he's smart, if he's smart with his training and his development and his recovery, he's going to blow his own records away. I would dare say right now his goal for cross country season in the fall is to take down his own record at Norris Penrose, which would be another incredible feat. I like I like kind of staying in the moment and trying to appreciate what these kids are doing in the moment that they're doing it. Because Doug, you and I, we watch and cover and pay attention to so many team sports throughout the course of the year. I'm trying to think of moments where, we saw kids competing that we wish we had appreciated that moment a little bit more. And that's just, that's what I want to make sure we do, because Jermaine, you're the track aficionado here, right? I certainly pay enough attention because of what I do, and I'll be at the state track meet for all 3 days. And when you come up to a Scotty Vines or like an Elise Cranny back in the day, all those kids, like you're always going to know who they were, but it's really, really tough to find in the midst of a regular season to be able to identify these performances, and not just from Oliver, but from all 4 of those kids who broke 9 minutes. And all that information is available at Bobby's story at coloradopreps.com. But you're seeing something that is really remarkable just in terms of Colorado high school track.
Yeah, we truly are. We truly are. And you take me back there, Dan. I think, and you would think I wrote this script of the story, but you're talking about Scotty Vines and, out there in DeBeck. I work with his family out there in Grand Junction. I seen that kid. Next week we have to show the picture. I have a picture when he was shorter than me. Think about that.
Oh no.
Right? He was yes, I have a picture with my arm over him when he was a young buck out there in Grand Junction. We had a lot of nonprofit work out there in the Grand Junction area, and his mom was one of our, preschool teachers out there in that area when I first met the young man. And then 7 years later, you see him at state meet jumping over 8 feet, pretty much. You know what I mean? Looking at it, and then you talk about Elise Craney, like she was my athlete at Fairview in 2005 when I was the head coach at Fairview High School in 2005. So, you think about that. Yes, that's the beauty of it, right? I can connect and draw a line. There's going to be people out there that work with these young men and women to hear those names and understand that it's great for the sport. It's great for Colorado, but it is unique. I love the way you put it, Doug. It's just different growth happening on and off, the track. So the times will always be there. The PRs, those are going to happen. Right, PR is going to happen. Someone's going to run 9.49 soon, right? Just look at what the young men are running in high school in Texas right now. That Usain's Bolt 9.58. That's coming down very soon, and no one thought that would ever happen, right? So, having a blessing in front of you and understand there's a goal, but obviously goals are. Records are records, but being more. How can I put it? Being more consistent and falling in love with the sport is what you see with like the Oliver young man, right? That you fall in love with running when you hit times that he's hitting, right? You have to do so much hunting during the week of miles and 100 miles plus and attrition of the recovery and nutrition to be able to get those times. So it's, kudos to all the athletes, because it takes more about consistency versus just talent to hit numbers like that.
Yep. And it makes for a fun stretch of the year that we're going into in terms of, like you said, Jermaine, it's 5 weeks. And you can sit there coming out of spring break and think 5 weeks is, it's so much time to get to appreciate this. It's really not, because
5 weeks is the football playoffs, and track gets to do it in 1 day,
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
So, it's going to be a fun 5 weeks for sure. We've got, a lot more spring sports action going on. Jermaine, are you up for chatting some baseball, lacrosse, all the good stuff, or do we give you your track fix enough that now you got to go make those kids better?
Well, you call it. I'm an East Coast guy, so we bat better and we play lacrosse better than anyone out here. So I just want to put that out there. Yeah, just especially on the lacrosse side. I'm a New Yorker, so I'm by that Syracuse, New York, Rochester area. So they play good lacrosse up there in that area. But your call. I'm here. I definitely would love to talk
around.
About,
if it's my call, then you're sticking around. So, I mean, there's a number 1 next to those Lutheran Lions, so I guess we better have you stick around. So,
I've been waiting for you to say that for a long time.
Well, I'm always paying attention, man. So we're gonna get into it's really the top of the selection seating index rankings. We did this a little bit with basketball, but just trying to break down what the outlook is for some of these team sports squads that are finding their way at the top of the rankings. We'll be diving into that and much more right after this on the Colorado Prep Show presented by Upswing.
Yo, these KDs are fire. KD, you work here?
Whatever, kid.
Take notes. Every shoe for every athlete, only at Dick's.
Whoever said work smarter, not harder, didn't realize you could do both.
Golf season is here, and Denver Golf Passes make it easier than ever to play. Start your golf journey with Learn and Play 1.0. 5 clinics, 5 rounds, 5 buckets. Already playing? Take your game up a level with Learn and Play 2.0. Or grab the Friends and Family Pass. 20 par 3 rounds and 30 mini golf or range sessions. And for new players wanting reps, the Practice and Play Pass gives you 10 rounds and 15 range buckets. Find the pass that fits your game. Visit cityofdenvergolf.com.
Welcome back into the Colorado Prep Show presented by Upswing. I'm the editor-in-chief of Colorado Prep's Dan Mohrmann. Doug Ottewill, the editor-in-chief of Mile High Sports Magazine, with me, as is the face of Upswing and head track and field coach at Lutheran High School, Jermaine Stafford. And guys, it's I mentioned it at the top of the show, but we're now getting into the point where all the competition for team sports post spring break gets dialed up a little bit more. You're going to see a lot of those lacrosse, soccer, baseball teams diving into league play for girls golf. We're now into the thick of things where tournaments are going to mean a lot, especially with the I Want to Maker rankings now determining the state tournament field. But I'm going to kick things off in baseball because the CHSAA rankings were released today, and it's really just the top 10 of the selection seating index. It's not a coach's poll, not anything like that. But a couple of things just caught my eye, and I think they're worth talking about. And I want to start with 4A baseball, where, of course, your defending state champion is Golden. They're looking to put together another run toward a state title. But the number 1 team in that classification caught my eye, and it's Canyon City. And when you think of baseball powerhouse schools, I don't know how much you guys are following it on a year-to-year basis. I don't think of Canyon City. And it's not to take anything away from them. I think they're having a remarkable year. And if you look at this, because we always talk about these index rankings, the early part of the year, how representative is it of where these teams truly are? Canyon City has not they don't have the easiest schedule. Let me put it to you that way. They're beating teams like Pueblo County, who was a state runner-up a couple of years ago. They're still undefeated. I mean, is this something that, as early as it is just worth paying attention to see a team that's kind of that outlier now kind of asserting itself in the top of maybe the toughest overall classification of baseball?
Well, I mean, I tend to kind of think Golden should be number 1 until proven otherwise. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard to tell this early in the season until you get a lot of head-to-head matchups. I think you learn more about teams' pitching staff, what they have, how deep it is, how much they're relying on one kid. I don't have anything bad to say about Canyon City at all. I think they've kind of fallen into the category of some of the teams we talk about in basketball and football of, let's see what happens the more teams they play from other areas. Although, as you said, they've played some people on the schedule. So there's no reason to discount what they've done at all.
Palmer Ridge made a run at the PPAC title last year, Jermaine. I mean, and that PPAC, probably from the Lutheran hallways, that's going to be a gauntlet every year between Cheyenne Mountain, Lutheran. I mean, Discovery Canyon is very much in the mix. So they beat Palmer Ridge 8-2, beat Pueblo County 4-3. And if you look at a guy like Trey Schumacher, guys, he's batting .409 with 4 home runs and just 1 double. So he's either hitting a single or he's hitting it over the fence, which is the kind of ball player that you like to see step up to the plate each time. But Jermaine, you hear probably of a lot of 4A baseball in those Lutheran hallways. Would this just be a fun story overall to see if Canyon City can make a good run towards the playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely. And with track and field, we are always next to baseball fields, right? It's so funny. We go to these track meets, and Palmer Ridge, we were by a JV meet just last week, and you can hear in that, in those batting cages, those guys striking off, and you say, there's some big boys over there hitting. It wasn't any little league ball, but yeah, it's always a great story to see someone new step up like this. We talked about this all year, Dan, like the teams that get the synergy with the small areas and teams that play together. It's not your everyday, type of team. Doug spoke about like how Golden, I feel Golden as well as like that belongs at number 1 seed. Someone takes that from them, that top, but just to have that conversation, absolutely, it'd be great to see him. That PPAC league is tough to even try to run through, right? Versus to get through. Like, you just have to try to get through those teams. So yeah, it'd be exciting to see what they could put together. 1-9, and see how they can make things happen.
So I wanted another probably your top baseball game of the week is actually Los Animas and Monte Vista, who I think are 3-4 or 4-5 in 2A, and they're both undefeated. They have a big clash tomorrow, but I put together a quick list, guys, and we're just going to go through it real quick and then move on because this baseball season is still young, and it's just a quick buy or sell on a couple of teams based on where they are in their team standings or in the selection seeding index rankings. I'm sorry. So Jermaine, I wanted to make sure we stuck in that Parker area for you in 5A, but Chaparral is currently number 2 in 5A. We buying or selling that right now?
Always buying Chaparral when it comes to baseball for me. I mean, you drive past them over there on that, Chambers and 470 area. Those guys put in a lot of work, and they're rebuilding that program with some feeders. Again, I've been all year. I should get a T-shirt that says "Believing in Feeder Programs." Right, that should be across my chest. Feeder teams, right? That's where the growth happens, and you can see that with the Chaparral team. Obviously, the Parker Hawks over there. That baseball program is very big, so you start to see the difference in the Chaparral and Ponderosa and Legend and Lutheran teams. So yeah, definitely buying that 2 seat.
Let me ask you this, Dan. Who's number 1 and number 3 on the list? I don't have it in front of me, but I think that tells you a little bit when you're talking about whether you buy or sell a team like Chaparral.
Number 1 would be 8-0 Erie, who's having a good year. And number 3 is that pesky 2-time defending state champion, Cherry Creek.
Well, that's a tough one because I think you can't, it's a little bit like we talk about with Canyon City. You can't discount what Chaparral's been doing. But, when you get into a head-to-head and Chaparral goes up against the Bruins when it counts in the state tournament, your gut tells you you're going to go with Cherry Creek. But as I mentioned at the top of the show, Cherry Creek got 10 run by Arvada West. So maybe they're, a byproduct of their reputation as opposed to their roster this current year.
Okay, so does that mean you're buying or selling Chap at where they are?
I'm buying.
Okay.
You made sure he put that in there, right, Dan? You made sure he answered that.
I always have I always mean to do this. One of my favorite podcasts, No Laying Up, they started a group like On the Record document. It's a live Google Doc. And basically, if you make a claim about a team or a player or something, they enter it on the record just so it's there. It's set in stone if you're ever right or wrong, which is always good. You guys give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull up Shap.
It's kind of hard to be wrong by saying you're buying the number 2 team. And I mean, unless they just completely fall apart, or unless your criteria is they have to win state. But, even at number 2, you're saying, yeah, I like them. They're good.
All right. We'll move down to 4A with the 4A pick being sponsored by noted Western Slope hater Matt Langley of Basketball Colorado. But Palisade is sitting as a top 3 seed in 4A. Are we buying or selling that?
I'm buying Palisade because one, it's Peach City, but two, I think on the Western Slope, that's their bread and butter. That's baseball town. The weather's nice. They typically have good teams over there. I'm buying the Peaches.
Yeah, I'm buying that as well. I like going out to Grand Junction. I like the Warehouse 42, and as well as that Cold Terrace winery out there. I mean, the grapes are great. I want to be able to visit out there. I'm definitely buying that team.
I believe they made it to the Air Force Academy for state last year. I think that's a good program, solid squad. I would buy the Palisade Bulldogs as well as a top team in 4A. Doug, our good friend Mark Knutson has Prospect Ridge Academy sitting as a top 3 team in 3A. You got to think 3A, the likes of Eaton and University and the big dogs of Colorado baseball. Are you buying or selling Knutson's squad?
Well, it's an interesting dilemma because I know what kind of work Mark has put into that program and where he's taken it to in a pretty short amount of time. So from that aspect, I'm buying. On the flip side, I think, just as we talked about last week on the show, 3A baseball tends to go through Northern Colorado. I mean, it's all those schools, the Greeley schools, Eaton, that's where baseball is in the 3A class. So Mark has his squad playing well, and I know what kind of baseball guy Mark is. So there may be, I don't want to say a new sheriff in town, but there's certainly another contender. But I do think, just as we say a lot on this show, beat those teams up in Northern Colorado before I'm handing you any titles or crowns.
Yeah, I'm selling that one. I'm gonna have to sell that one. I won't say as well because it does sound like you were buying it, but I'm gonna sell that one because of what you just stated, Doug. Eaton. When I hear Eaton in baseball, you got to prove it. I believe that they are that top cream of the crop, and you got to take it from them. They're the champ until they are not. So I would have to sell that, and then that may come back to bite me. But I don't go up north as well, so I'm not as scared.
I would buy this just from the standpoint of I think Mark's team was a game off of making the true state tournament in Greeley last year. And like you said, Doug, I think that's a team that's been building and building and building, and they're just kind of waiting for that one breakout year. And there's no reason to suggest that this can't be it. I mean, when you look at the teams that have made their way to Greeley the last couple of years and done pretty decent for themselves. I mean, Coal Ridge won state last year. You've had Montezuma Cortez get there. You've had Delta get there. Prospect Ridge is still right there on the front range. You're being coached by a former Major League Baseball player, right? So in terms of baseball knowledge, that might be the best you can do. So I like what Prospect Ridge is putting together. We're going to shift down to 2A and go with Ray. Ray is sitting in that number 1 spot in a classification where Denver Christian has won the previous 2 state champ, or I think Forge might have won last year. Now I'm getting all my 2A schools mixed up, but Ray's sitting at number 1, a classification that's been dominated by the likes of a Forge Christian, a Denver Christian, a Lyman, all that. Are we buying or selling Ray as a top team in 2A? Jermaine.
You see how you had to say that, Dan? Because Doug was waiting to steal my answer. I'm definitely buying. I'm buying that there. I believe. Once again, this teams that put those wins together at the end of the year last year and bringing back a lot of kids that you can see that they are doing. I can see that happening. You can't dispute how can you sell? How can you sell a program like that when they have that number 1 ranking? And I think they're gonna run with it.
I think I'm going to sell, despite Jermaine wondering how you could ever sell a team that's ranked number 1. I say that because of Ray has some tremendous athletes. Obviously, we see him there in football every year. They're right up there with Lyman. Basketball, they're typically good. So there's no mistake that they're loaded. They take great pride in their sports. But I do think when it comes to 2A, you do look at these teams that are, for lack of a better line of delineation, private schools, because these kids have, access to more baseball year round, clubs that are closer to their high schools. Ray's still out there. And that doesn't mean that they can't be good or they can't have classes that come through that are very good, but But I really do firmly believe that baseball has become a sport that's driven by clubs and club athletes. The ability to get in cages and facilities, the baseball equivalent of upswing for hitters and pitchers and things like that. So I'm selling, not because I dislike the Ray Eagles, but I do think, again, it's just like we said about, in 3A running through Northern Colorado, I think smaller classifications kind of run through that, urban private kind of juggernaut.
Yeah, and Lyman had that run a couple years ago. I think they got to the state championship a few times. I know they got at least one ring because I was there in Pueblo in 2021. But I feel like, especially with a 2A, if you have those schools, Doug, if you have a Forge and a Denver Christian who played last year for the 2A state title, with Forge getting the win, there's probably more depth, right?
Yeah.
If a team like Ray is up there, I think they're doing all the right things that they need to be doing, but there's going to be a concern when it comes to maybe available pitching arms and, what are your 7, 8, 9 hitters able to do against the depth of arms that a Forge or a Denver Christian has. So I'm not saying that they can't be a team that can make a run. I think there's kind of it's like what you said with Eaton Jermaine. Like if you want to be in that spot, you're going to have to earn it, and you're going to have to take down one of those top dogs to really solidify that place. And then we go to 1A, and guys, McClave is sitting at number 2. Do we like McClave as a top 2 team in 1A?
I'm buying.
Yeah, I'm buying as well.
Just because they have athletes on athletes on athletes.
Well, look at what they've done the last 2 years, and not even just the boys' side, but girls basketball, boys basketball, football. McClave's just been dominant. They've got some waves of generations of athletes coming through there at this time. And when you're talking about baseball in 2A, those private schools kind of, get into that classification, but not so much in 1A. There's just not as many of them, not as many private school competition. So Ray's doing it on their own. And they just happen to be red hot right now. I'm sorry, McClave is red hot right now.
And McClave, you think about McClave's like synergy they have. You see it around all the athletes in sports you just mentioned. You remember at the basketball term, all the athletes on the bench were dressed the same. They weren't playing, right? That was the managers and the kids were. The synergy is there. That camaraderie of those athletes and student athletes, that crowd was just massive. So yeah, they have some great things rolling down in that area.
I think athletic culture is absolutely breeding success there, and I think that translates across sports. The 2 teams that I would have to keep my eye on in 1A are always going to be Marino. Marino has been in the mix darn near every year. That Colorado Preps has been doing this, and then Akron, your defending champion. They didn't lose too many key players from that championship team last year. So those are 2 squads that I would definitely keep my eye on for the sake of putting a firm answer on it. I'll sell them as a top 2 team, but I like them, as a top 3, 4 team, certainly in that classification. Want to make a quick shift over to girls golf, guys. I was looking at the I Want to Make Her rankings. Not a lot of tournaments get played before spring break. Weather's always a little tough, not this year. I mean, we should have been on it with our friend Chris Bianchi to see, when the kids could have gotten out, if they could have gotten out earlier. But 3 girls, Colorado Academy's Sophia Lee, the defending 2A champion, Lily Cohen from Chaparral, Jermaine, right in your neck of the woods, and then Cheyenne Schrick, the defending 3A champion from Tinmouth. They all have rounds in the 60s so far. So in Colorado, when your outdoor time is limited over the winter, you have girls that are stepping on the course, and it's almost like they're in mid-season form. Lee and Schrick, like I said, are both defending state champions. But guys, the key with all 3 of those girls, none of them are seniors. Why are we seeing? And I don't expect anyone to necessarily rattle off, the exact reasons as to why this would be the case. But why do we think that the younger crop of girls golfers in Colorado are starting to become kind of that dominant group?
I think it goes back to what Doug was speaking about earlier. There's places and facilities and trainers and pro golfers and clubhouses now that are inviting more young athletes to learn how to play the game. Here at Upswing, we've done things. We just recently had a clinic with the PGA here, a scouting and recruiting clinic with PGA. We do work with PGA. I worked at Tide Creek clinic and tournament just last spring. And, working with the PGA, you can see a lot of those young athletes are getting the capabilities and opportunities to play outside of the high school season. Very huge, right? Outside the high school season. So when you come into the high school season, they are, quote unquote, seasoned enough to actually perform at a high level. I mean, here golfers here in Colorado are being blessed with the weather, but also there are a lot of great facilities that are putting different type of performance training towards golfers at a young age. As American athletes, we tend to put high school as that barrier, that yield sign, how fast they can progress, right? I mean, could you imagine a European soccer player playing soccer here in the United States? They wouldn't play in soccer. They wouldn't play in high school, right? It's hockey players. We've seen that. I coached at Valor, and I remember half of the hockey players didn't play on the hockey team for Valor, right? Because they were traveling, playing on these club teams because they didn't play in that arena, that type of arena, because of their talent level. With golf, you have the same thing. I believe these talented athletes are very ready to play, and they just happen to be playing in the high school arena, but they don't have to, right? Obviously, they can go on and become professionals tomorrow. There's no boundaries and barriers stopping them from becoming a professional athlete in the sport of golf. So it's very brilliant to see, and I say brilliant because it's brilliant to the schools and the clubs and the organizations that put these great tournaments on where these athletes are progressing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. I mean, I know, my firsthand example is a guy like Trent Warner. For years and years and years now, he's been known as probably the best, golf coach for up and coming up till high school players that anybody knows. And I'm sure there are others. So, when you, again, and I hate to make it sound like old man radio here, but I'm sure when I was in high school, you had a golf coach who, same thing. You go out and you see which kid, shoots under 80, and that's your number one, and the kid that shoots 81 is your number two. But I think now parents are identifying that a kid has some talent at a very, very young age. And so they get him to a guy like Trent Warner who can teach them, beyond just the basics and really, really fine tune that talent. I think your question, though, as to why we're seeing young waves dominate these classifications versus, say, juniors and seniors is an interesting one. I don't know, I don't know if that's a kind of just a happenstance as to the type of talent that's coming through at this time, or if it's every year your best golfer is a sophomore. I don't know. I don't have enough data in front of me, but I would think that these girls that are dominant right now would be dominant at seniors as well. So I think that one's a little bit TBD, but to see good golfers as young, freshmen, sophomores, I think that's a product of coaching around the state.
Well, and what's really interesting to me is in terms of golf, I think golf is a little bit like basketball in Colorado right now, where the girls' side is actually producing better players from a broader perspective than the boys. I mean, if you and there's an argument to be made, right? Because if we're looking at the top level, Jennifer Kupcho and Wyndham Clark each have one major in their sport. But if you look at the number of D1 girls that are going, I mean, Valor Christian's two-time state champion. Oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue, Jermaine. I think she's up at CU. Brenna Higgins is up at CU. You're seeing, girls like Ella Scott from Valor who are getting big offers. Haley Schock a few years ago, she was a big D1 talent. Logan Hale from Erie, she's at the University of Denver and doing good things for the Pioneers. You're just seeing so many girls kind of elevating to that next level status, which I think is a really, really cool thing to see. And Jermaine, we had no idea you did anything with PGA. Like, why do you keep these secrets?
Jermaine is 360, man. He's
Why
well
do you
rounded.
keep these things from us?
I don't. You have to come here and be involved. And I tell you, we have a volunteer program. You can always step in here and help us out. But yes, we do.
They don't want me
PGA.
volunteering to show my swing. I'll tell you that much.
Not your swing, but we do need to pass out water. So you would be very welcome to. You'd be welcome to help us out.
Dan, water
Yeah.
for Mohrmann. I like it.
Yeah, we are a universal facility. We do train. We do a lot with a lot of people. Very blessed. Very blessed
All
here.
kids need hydration, Dan.
They always need hydration. We're gonna wrap it up with a little bit of boys lacrosse again. Just kind of looking at the current rankings, the seeding index. So Cherry Creek and Air Academy were number 1 in the respective preseason polls, which were done by coaches. Right now, it's Regis Jesuit and then some little school in Parker called Lutheran, who's sitting at number 1 this week. But when I look at the top 5 guys, we're also seeing teams like in 5A, Lakewood and Ralston Valley, who, you don't think of initially when it comes to boys lacrosse. Or in 4A, Grand Junction and Telluride are sitting in the top 5 at 4A. My big question for lacrosse, is it more fun to see the parity? And we talked about this a little bit with 4A baseball, but is it a little more fun to see the parity where we get some of these schools that aren't normally in that championship mix kind of playing well early to see if we can, kind of get some new blood into that title picture?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. Go ahead, Doug.
I was going to say, I think there's parity for 2 reasons. It is good. It's fun to see because for years and years and years, I say years and years and years, but the reality is lacrosse in Colorado is still a relatively new sport. Varsity lacrosse hasn't been around all that long compared to, your traditional baseball, basketball, football, track kind of stuff. But I think, you saw when the Mammoth came to town, the spark in interest across the state was obvious, and these programs spouted up. I would venture to guess that the amount of lacrosse programs in the state has doubled or tripled since the day the Mammoth arrived versus before. And before, it was always Cherry Creek and Kent Denver and Colorado Academy, schools that kind of had that I don't know what East Coast know-how, I guess. But man, it's nice to see some of these, and I think a little bit of that's because of the clubs. I mean, you see these little kids that were 5, 6 years old that started playing because the Mammoth came to town. They eventually get to high school, and along the way, there's a lot of people that go, you know what, we should start a club, and those clubs have evolved. So I think there's clubs all over the Front Range, and those kids go to high school all over. So the parity makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yes, it's exciting to see the youth. I'm very excited to see the youth play within lacrosse in Colorado, because what you said, Doug, is it's a lot of great clubs is doing a lot of great things when it comes to lacrosse. I mean, I could tell you Lutheran, walking past those Lutheran guys at track practice, because they come in after us, and after they practice in the evening to get the track by themselves and, not have to worry about where they're tossing those balls around. But I mean, it's just some massive guys, right? I mean, lacrosse are some very athletic people. One of my shot putters plays lacrosse for Lutheran. I mean, put it like that. He's a lineman playing lacrosse for Lutheran. He's very agile, but you see it as well across the board. 303 or 3D, those clubs, 303 or 3D, they're doing great work. Here we've done great work with Denver Lax, in the past. Rod Allison, he's out of East High School. We run that. I think Ben Allison now took over, his son over there in Denver East. I mean, there's some great lacrosse being played in this state. Coming from a state in the East Coast where lacrosse was in gym class. Right, I grew up we had lacrosse in gym class, and back in those times, and I won't say what year in 1990 something, but I'll leave it there. But you can kind of figure it out. But we had gym class, we had lacrosse, right, and and having those old-fashioned lacrosse sticks, and they still weren't, they weren't broken in yet, so the balls were not in there, and guys were running around trying to figure out this sport that you play. And I tell you what, after about 2 months, it was great to see in gym class. It was a part of gym. So you're starting to see that type of excitement here in Colorado. A lot of great players, high-level players. I tell you, one of my most famous guys that I ever trained, it was Gunnar Fellows out of Valor. And Gunner Fellows is captain right now in Army. He plays in lacrosse for Army right now. And Gunner was, when he was at Valor, was just always about lacrosse and was saying it's going to get big here. It's going to get big, and it is getting big. It's getting bigger by the day, and it's great for these young people to see, and it's great for the original question, Dan. Yes, it's exciting to see the different teams come about because we want to see that, and we need that. Right?
You were out there having lacrosse as part of your gym curriculum, and here in Colorado, we had to learn square dancing. I don't know if you had to do that, but not only was that mentally traumatic and emotionally traumatic, but it led to absolutely nothing. For years and years and years, square dancing was part of the curriculum in my grade school and junior high. And you know how many times I've ever square danced since? 0.
That surprises me from Rancher Doug.
Right.
What
and I
can do with square dancing?
Yeah, I can tell you, when I came to Colorado, they put me in that class too, I think, but it started over at the Grizzly Rose. They told me I got to learn how to square dance on Saturday night at the Grizzly Rose one time.
Hey, if you want to teach me a 2-step, that might be valuable. That might lead to something. But square dance, sachet, alame, come on.
It's culture. It's culture.
What we do in Colorado.
I love the fact that we're moving forward with things like lacrosse and gym class, though. It just gives me hope that East Coast mentality will trickle a little more west, Jermaine.
Hope so.
We're gonna wrap it up. One more final segment to go. We're gonna go through some letter winners, a couple of housekeeping notes, but I always like finding these random fun discussions, guys. This always makes for a good day here on the Colorado Prep Show. We'll wrap it up with our 3 letter winners right after this.
This is Tim Anderson of Gordon Insurance, and we are proud to support all of our area athletes. With offices in Lyman, Callahan, Flagler, Sterling, and Kit Carson, we offer all types of insurance, including home, auto, commercial, farm, crop, life, bonds, and workman's compensation. We are independent and thus can offer you multiple choices of companies, not just one. Call or visit the office near you, and one of our agents can take care of you. See all of our contact information by going to www.gordonins.com or call me at 719-740-1361.
There are those who say the modern world has made us lose touch with places like this. We say, that depends on what you're driving.
When I go to court, these aren't my clients, these are my friends. These are people that I believe in. And they have one shot, just one shot for justice. If they've come to me and we've gotten to trial, their life has been turned upside down in some awful way. I'm all they have. So if I haven't put the time in, if I haven't trained, if I haven't humbly looked in the mirror and thought about ways I can be better, and I don't present my best self in court, then I failed them. And that's what motivates me as a trial lawyer, because when this is over, that client goes home. And if I haven't done my best for him, I haven't been his champion, then I've failed.
Welcome back into the Colorado Prep Show presented by Upswing. Dan Mohrmann, Doug Ottewill, Jermaine Stafford. Getting into our letter winners for the week. It's always tough, guys, with the spring break action. Competition's always a little limited, but we can always find athletes to feature. Jermaine, I want to give you the chance to go first. I've got the 3 written down in the rundown, but I know you're watching kids. You've told us how many track meets you've been to in the last week. Who's really stood out in your mind over the last week?
Oh, man, I have so many, but I'll try not to just stay in my own school. I'll get away from Lutheran a little bit, but I could tell you I have been blown away by the Ruff brothers. And Ruff being DJ Ruff and the other one, Jackson Ruff, from Fort Collins High School for track and field. I mean, we talked a little bit about where their relay team lands now. They've created such a synergy. DJ Ruff is running, very fast in the 100 meters, being one of the top 100-meter runners right now. Their relay, I'm looking at it right now, the relay is leading the state 4x1, 4x2, and the 4x4. They are creating a team synergy there where they could possibly take down, CT High School when it comes to the state championship. Cherokee Trails at 3 straight titles. That team up north seems to be putting some good stuff together. I've been at 2 track meets. I've seen CT and I've seen Fort Collins at that 5'8", live, and competed against both in the meets. And I tell you, the DJ Ruff is just very, very strong right now. And it's funny, Doug, when you talked about the guys coming back, this is right now your alley. So DJ Ruff, if that name doesn't ring a bell to you, his dad was Dwayne Ruff, which is a sprint coach at Fort Collins, right? So, you're talking about coming back full circle, and, it's funny to hear them sometimes the announcers will say, like, I remember Dwayne Ruff, he was running, and then Dwayne's coach Ruff is right there, like, I'm right here. I'm still here. Those are my kids. But, putting together, very, very high kudos to that Fort Collins program. We were at their track meet at the Pooter Stadium up there, beautiful stadium, by the way, there at Timoth High School, middle school. Just seeing that team on the track, so many moving parts, so many athletes. So I give it up to the Ruff brothers, but also give it up to Fort Collins in general. And I would be biased if I wasn't giving kudos to, my own sprint team, my young fellas doing well. Carter Solo stepping into the 100-meter dash this past weekend with the upset and coming back and winning the 400, running against two other 48-second quarter milers. He bounced, and to win 100 and 400 in the same track meet is not really heard of. And to come back and anchor the 4x4 relay where, his team upset, Chaparral of 518. You talk about 4 chasing 5, 418 beating the 518 team, and the 4x4 at the end off the track meet was a highlight day.
All right, I'm going to stick with the northern part of the state, guys, and this needs to be a lesson to every single coach or athlete that we ask to come on this program. We had Casey Miller, the university baseball coach, on last week. We praised Gage Viken, his senior, his number 1 pitcher. 48 hours after Casey's on the program, Gage goes out and tosses a perfect game against Elizabeth, striking out 2 hitters. Just an outstanding performance for a kid who's looking to get university back into the state title picture. So we got to give a shout out to Gage Viken.
It's like that's like the road to state kiss. Like, you come on the show and good things happen. It
was almost proven science in the fall.
Yeah, it's practically science. I am also going to stay up north with Riley Klatt at Meade Track. She took the top spot in the state in all classifications in the 100-meter dash at the NIWAT Invite, which I know you had great coverage on that all weekend. Good stuff from our writers covering the NIWAT Invite. But she ran an 11.93, best in Colorado and 4th in the nation. That's what stood out to me. It's like, we're not just talking about, little old us in Colorado, but 4th in the nation. That's flying. Riley Klatt, nice work.
Of course, the daughter of Meade football coach Jason Klatt. Her uncle Joel used to do some great things at Mile High Sports.
Joel was slow.
Huh?
Joel was slow.
Very slow.
Go back and watch
the baseball player, man. He liked Manning. He was a third baseman? Third baseman or not quick?
Maybe shortstop, but
left side of the infield.
He was really slow. Luckily, he had DJ McCoy. He had Derek McCoy and Hackett to throw the ball to. He'd been in trouble.
Well, we like Joel. He's a former Mile High Sports guy. We like to say we taught him everything he knows now. It's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but but both brothers, great guys.
Yeah, love the Klatt boys. And then I'll wrap it up with Nate Moats from Aspen Boys Lacrosse. We've been talking lacrosse a little bit. Guys, he scored no fewer than 3 goals in each game that the Skiers have played. They're 5-1 coming out of spring break. They're top 6 or 7 in the selection seeding index, a little bit more of that parity that we talked about. I would like to see the Aspen Boys Lacrosse team make a solid little run to get to the playoffs. That's about the bulk of the high school stuff we have. A couple of housekeeping notes, Dougie. Friday, there's another baseball team that opens up the season. It's not quite as talented as some of the baseball teams we cover.
Have they opened up yet, though? Have they actually opened up?
It depends on your interpretation.
We're still waiting for a win.
Are they meeting our expectations right now? Because I think the answer is yes.
Yes, they are. Yes, to 65 wins. Let's go for 65 wins.
Yeah.
Get off the road to 100.
Wow, it's it.
But the Rockies open up Friday at Coors Field. Mile High Sports is we're jumping into the opening day party scene, and we will be at number 38 on Friday, I think around 2:00 in the afternoon. Doug, if I'm wrong on that, let me know. Maybe Danny Bailey can jump in and correct me, but I believe it's 2:00. We'll be at number 38, celebrating the start of another long, miserable baseball season here in Colorado.
No, Dan, stop. Don't be that.
Hope springs eternal.
You guys are not going to get tickets doing that. Like, I want the people
They're
with the
practically
Colorado
giving them
Rockies.
away at this point, I think.
Well, they can give them to where I have a lot of kids here. We can give them to, bring them here. And I'm behind the Rockies this year. They have new ownership. Dad stepped to the side. Young Buck, the sons were going to run the program now. He went out and he bought in Moneyball. We're going to do some good things, right? He went out and got the Cleveland Browns guy. They are going to do it.
Walker Martin is a baseball product of Eaton, so we're behind him.
He knows championship baseball. We will say that. He knows what championship baseball is. That's right.
Give him a chance.
April 22nd, guys, is going to be a special day for the Colorado Prep Show. We will be airing live from Wellshire Golf Course, a City of Denver course. It'll be the Thomas Jefferson Invite happening behind us, and we join the celebration. Doug, is it 100 or 150 years of Wellshire?
100.
100.
The century mark.
The century mark. We'll be up there celebrating with the course. Of course, one of the oldest golf courses in Denver. We're going to try and find some kids as they're coming off to the course to chat with, and we're trying to line up some special guests for the day. Start time for that broadcast is still a little TBD, but on April 22nd, we will be broadcasting live at Wellshire. Jermaine, you are always welcome to come up and join us. We would love to have you on site.
Awesome. I'd love to be there.
Go on the road to a Rockies game just some day this summer. We need to all go just to participate in our local summer culture.
Can we do during a day game? We can just stream the show on our phones from the rooftop overlooking.
Could be ugly, but sure.
Let's do it.
One of us is responsible. I don't know about the other two. Denver Nuggets and Colorado Avalanche are making their push toward the postseason. Colleen Flynn has everything covered from the Avs. And then, of course, the Hockey Mountain High podcast supplements that quite well. Ryan Blackburn pulled a late one last night as the Nuggets got their 6th win in a row. Doug?
6 in a row, yep. I was there, right there, somewhere in the same vicinity as Ryan. They're playing now. That was a good win.
They're starting to play. So track all of Ryan's coverage. And then, of course, Pick Action Roll is probably the best overall Nuggets podcast in the city of Denver. And then Cody Rourke will have everything covered for the Denver Broncos as they approach the NFL draft. A little more boring without a first-round pick. But, hey, we got Jalen Waddle. So that's always a good thing. And then, of course, we will have everything covered from the high school standpoint. 8-week push. Jermaine, 5 for you from the state track standpoint. We'll continue for another few to make sure we hit soccer, golf, baseball, all the good things. So this has been the Colorado Prep Show presented by Upswing. We will be back next week. Thanks, guys, for Danny Bailey, Doug Ottewill, Jermaine Stafford. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.